What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to talk about what big event is coming up for today that's going to be very important for Apple in the market, what the news is saying about Tesla that's very important, what you should be watching for as we progress for today. But before I break anything down with all of this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm firstly not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends very soon, and it's in just about 2 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market and Tesla. Tesla's down about 0.67%, or maybe close to like 0.7% now, as of right now in the pre-market, and it is coming down exactly as we expected from yesterday. I told you all Tesla should gap down, kind of cool off a little bit, and that is what's happening so far as Tesla's trying to base around the 20 EMA. However, with Tesla potentially slowing down so far, the real question is how will Tesla move moving forward and what is going to affect it? And that's why I want to break down some very, very important pieces of news first. So looking at some new pieces of data, we can see right here the Nasdaq was actually up about 1.1% yesterday, and so was the S&P 500. The market was trying to rebound, especially after Tesla jumped so much, but getting a little cool off or even a gap down was expected. Now, something else that's worth noting is that JP Morgan Chase's CEO Jamie came out and he said some very important things about his forecasts for the market. He basically mentioned that the US economy has been very resilient. It has defied expectations, but he's saying that we should not necessarily become complacent. He is saying that it would be a huge mistake to do so, and he believes that the good news that we are seeing may not last forever, that we have to be prepared and we have to be on basically cloud nine because of the fact that as time goes on, we never know what's going to happen, and that this recession that we are forecasting, it could be even more severe than what some people are expecting because of complacency. And that's why he said it's very important for us to be prepared for this, be prepared for the quantitative tightening to have some negative effects in the economy. And he wants everyone to be prepared for this. So that's actually a very, very good point that he made. We should not become too complacent. We should not become too comfortable where we're at. And we should always be prepared for even the worst, right? I'm not trying to be like pessimistic. I'm just trying to tell you the truth because we are in a high interest rate environment and we've seen what this could do to the economy moving forward as a recession is most likely imminent for 2024. So be prepared, guys. He brought up some very, very good points. Oracle had its earnings. They did not too well. They actually dropped 9% after their first quarter revenue fell short for the first time in a long time. Their overall guidance was also lighter than expected, causing it to drop a little bit more. And besides that, guys, that's pretty much it for the news affecting the market, at least going into this morning. Now, when it comes to the economic data, we have the WASDE report, which could cause some volatility around noon, but nothing too crazy. It's coming out at noon Eastern time or New York time. Nothing too crazy once again for Tuesday, but for Wednesday, don't forget we have CPI coming out. I'm going to talk more about CPI in my second video for the day, but for now, I just want to let you guys know that the bigger thing for now is going to be Apple's big event. It's starting at about 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific time or around 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time or New York time. This is going to cause some big volatility, especially for Tesla, so make sure you're prepared for this. We're going to see what on earth Apple announces. They should be announcing the new iPhone 15 and potentially even new Apple Watches. It's going to be very interesting to witness. Now, right over here, there's some new news coming out for Tesla. Tesla places a $15 billion bet on the Gigafactory project in Mexico. And that's some very, very good news because Tesla's continuing to expand its global footprint. Once again, Mexico is a very, very good hub for car production. And this is absolutely great for Tesla moving forward. I'm very excited about this. They're still under construction. It may take many years before they officially start production, but there's still progress being made. Now, once again, over here, there's another independent test that was conducted on the semis, and they're looking quite interesting right now. We could see that they were testing them in real world conditions, and they were releasing more data in time. So during the test, you guys could see that they drove over like 416 miles. They were just looking at different specs, looking at their speeds, how much energy was in, and all these different things. And they actually found that they're quite efficient when it comes to the way that they move. They didn't really test them with enough weight, I think was what they mentioned in But overall, it's very, very good to see. We're going to see more data coming out about them. We're tracking the data over the next like 17 days that should be coming out. And this could be very, very interesting as we will learn more things. But so far, things were looking very interesting, very stable from what I heard. And we're going to be watching to see if there's anything new that's announced because of this. And once again, there's a lot of talk about the Mexican Gigafactory that's coming out. I'm very excited about that as well. Very bullish for Tesla's long term. So, anyways, now let's talk about what's going on with the share prices. Let's talk about what's going on with the market. When it comes to Tesla, right now Tesla's basically just trading sideways, not really doing a whole lot. I do expect it to cool off just a little bit. Uh, so we might see a little pop first when we open, right? That's what tends to happen to Tesla, but it may not break out extremely hard unless there's like a really big piece of news, which I'm not seeing so far. So it looks like we might get a little pop, then it may start dropping a little bit, trade sideways around this 270 area. If it breaks below 270, watch 268 and then 266 as critical support. We're going to be watching this, especially at the 50 EMA. Below that, we have like 265 and followed by like, the 262.5 area. I'm not counting it to drop that low. I just think that it could cool off just a little bit after getting that initial pump in the morning and cooling off just a bit. And trading sideways around this range, that would be completely normal. Nothing out of the ordinary, right? Tesla is due for a slight cool off after being up 10% in just one day. Remember when stocks climb really hard in a very short period of time and enter new territories they haven't been to in a very long time? It's very, very, it's very great to see many stocks run, but it's not always sustainable as they may have to just cool off and they have to like revisit levels to consolidate and do things like that. So for that reason, watch the 20 EMA 271 as support. That breaks, watch 270, 268, 266, and levels like that. And then for resistance, there's 272.5, 274, 275, all the way up here. My gut tells me there might be a little pop, then a little drop on Tesla. We might see some very sideways price action after that. I don't think Tesla's going to tank. I think it's just going to trade sideways most likely, be range bound in these lower levels, drop a little bit. And then we're going to see a very big reaction after Apple's earnings, which is going to, not earnings, I'm sorry guys, Apple's big event, it's not earnings. Apple's big event, which is going to be at about 1 p.m. Eastern time. So be prepared for that. If Apple launches the market, Tesla's going to start pushing up again. If Apple gets rug pulled, Tesla's going to start cooling off even lower into like the mid, if not the lower 260s. I want to prepare you guys. It's going to be very telling. Be prepared for that. So one stock that's going to be important for today is Apple. Apple's trying to uptrend a little bit, approaching the 180 resistance. If that breaks 181.14, it's going to be the next level at the 200 EMA. The overall trend is looking, it's been a little bit more bullish than bearish, but it's kind of like seeing resistance slow it down from here. So it might push up a little bit, then start to trade sideways approaching the event. And then we're going to see what happens to Apple during the event. It may get a big push. It may end up, crashing. Historically, Apple does tend to crash after these events, but it's not a guarantee because it all depends on what ends up being said. So we'll wait and see what happens during the event. That's going to cause some big volatility. If it launches, Apple is going to push to the 182 plus area. If we get a rug pull, then obviously it's going to come down to like 177 or lower. Watch it very carefully, and we'll see what happens during the event. As far as SPY goes, this thing is gapping down just a little bit. It may actually try to push up, but it's kind of like stuck between our 20 and 200 EMAs. Watch it kind of trade sideways around here. There's a potential double bottom that formed. We might see this thing make an attempt to break above the 20 EMA at 447.64. If that breaks, we could see this thing push towards the 448s. Now, right now, things are getting closer. I could see a little pop in the morning thanks to Apple, so the 448s could be retested. But I think it's going to be very boring. We're just going to trade sideways, not really doing a whole lot for most of the day. Then we're going to see the big reaction after Apple's big event. But just as a warning, if there's some bad piece of news, you want to be watching the 200 EMA as support. If that 200 EMA breaks at 446, you're going to be watching 446.5 specifically. If that breaks, then we could come down to fill the gap if there's some bad piece of news, just hypothetically. So that's going to be a very important level just to keep in the back of your mind. But as of right now, it's not looking like it's going to break down or even like push up too much. We're just kind of like shopping a little bit. So there might be a little pop thanks to Apple, then just sideways price action. And as long as there's no bad news, we're just going to see the reaction to Apple's big event. If there's bad news that comes out today, the 200 EMA is going to be key. Watch that very carefully. Watch 446.5 as well as support. If that breaks, then it's going to likely fill the gap below, and then the bad news will take over. But as of right now, we're not seeing that. So watch these levels and just know the odds do favor us actually popping instead, thanks to Apple, and then trading sideways. Okay, so hopefully that's as clear as possible. Watch your levels very carefully. Watch the 20 and the 200 EMA. To head on to this, I just want to mention that For the QQQ, just like SPY is kind of trading sideways right now. We're about to watch the 50 EMA as support. If it breaks below 375 flat, 374.33 could be the next level. If it holds above 376, we could see a push towards 378. What do I think is more probable? It looks like we may have seen something interesting. But anyways, with Apple, excuse me, sorry guys, with Apple announcing its big events, we might see a little pop on the QQQ towards 378, rejection and some sideways price action, and a big reaction after Apple's event. And besides that, guys, I just want to mention that Nvda has been on a downtrend. It's been continuing to downtrend for quite some time, continuing to get lower and lower and lower. So it looks more bearish overall. But we want to watch this 448 support. If that fails, it has the potential to sink into the low 440s, if not all the way down to the high 430s. So that's going to be a very important support. Watch 448. If 448 breaks, watch it retest 443 and potentially even 440. If it manages to hold and break above 452, it could try to push towards 455, then 460. But overall, it looks like we might get a little pop towards 452, reject off that, and then we could see Nvidia start to cool off. The overall trend is still looking more bearish as this thing is continuing to make lower highs and lower lows. So if this were to continue, you want to watch 448 to see if that breaks. If it breaks, we could see Nvidia sink lower. It looks more bearish from a technical standpoint overall, not looking the best. So we're going to be watching critical support and see how it reacts to Apple simultaneously. Now, the VIX is actually up just a little bit, but don't forget, the VIX also has this big gap down here. If the VIX ends up, tanking because of this gap down here, that could be because of the market pushing, and there could be some big news coming out to help it. We'll have to wait and see on that. As of right now, the VIX is still a little bit in the green. With that said, I think I went over the majority of stocks that are necessary for today. The dollar is also a little bit up, which is going to cause the market to cool off just a tiny bit, at least gap down. But the dollar is forming a bearish divergence, so it might start to cool off by the time we open. The market may get a little pop initially before trading sideways, so just be prepared for that. We might see a little pop in sideways price action. As far as Tesla goes, we might see Tesla get a little pop and then start dropping. And we're going to be watching 270. Do we hold it or not? Then we could start to see this thing sink even lower towards 266, 268, then 266, then trade sideways after that, then react to Apple. That's what I'm anticipating for Tesla as the most probable move based off the current technicals. Get ready for Apple's big event. It's going to be very telling. And with that said, I thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Tesla in the market to the moon because the long term is very bright, and get ready for the big move that's coming. Thank you, and peace out.